Hey everyone, how's it going? My name is Jay and welcome to the channel, and welcome to October Lake in Planet Zoo, a project where we're building this really large park situated in the Canadian Highlands. In today's video, we are going to be continuing our delve into the new Southeast Asian animal pack by building a sun bear habitat. If that does sound good to you, and if you do like today's video, please do consider leaving a like on the video, and of course do subscribe for more Planet Zoo content. With that little intro out of the way, let's talk about today's episode, which is going to be continuing off almost immediately from where we left off in last week's episode with the clouded leopard habitat. In fact, it's going to be directly opposite it on the other side of this ramp over here, which again is still a very steep ramp, but we're going to work on that later. So what we're going to do is essentially replicate the staggered viewing area, which is kind of like the staircase kind of vibe, just on the other side over here. And what that's going to do is, again, allow us to build an almost like a tiered habitat layout for the sun bear, which is really what I was aiming for, because with the clouded leopard and with the sun bear, they both lived in very, very similar environments. And I kind of wanted to emulate that, even though obviously we're not building a tropical rainforest here. I wanted to emulate the kind of the craggliness, the different elevations, the amount of climbing area. And all that's going to be very important because, of course, both of these animals, the clouded leopard and the sun bear, are extremely arboreal creatures, with the sun bear actually being the most arboreal of all bears. And I'll talk a little bit more about the sun bear because that's an animal that really does hold quite a special place in my heart, and it's an animal I really love personally. But just quickly going over what the habitat's going to look like, it is going to look relatively similar to the cloud leopard one. A few major differences is that it's a bit smaller because we're only including one sun bear. It's probably going to be one of the few solitary animals in the park, just because of course sun bears are solitary, but usually I even include like a male and female, but just because of the size of the habitat, I think it is better just to have the one, so that it does have as much space as it wants. And I think it overall works pretty well. It looks quite nice. The bear can access most of the areas in the habitat. It's a little bit tricky for it to get to some places, so I had to adjust some things off screen. But overall it works pretty well. In this first part of the video, we are just going to almost literally like just duplicate everything from the other side of this path. And by the end, I think this whole area ends up looking really cool actually. It just looks like a very unique part of the park. You can go down the stairs or you can go down the ramp in the middle. Later what we do to kind of fix the steepness is just add some like speed bump type situation things. I don't know what that sentence was. But we add like some logs and sink them into the ground to make it look like, okay, there's kind of like, you can't end up going too fast because the logs will kind of stop you. So you're not going to like fall down this thing. And what I'll end up doing, which I haven't done here yet, but I'll add railings along the side as well to just give it a bit more security. Ideally, I wouldn't want such a steep ramp in my park, but in this location, I think it's a little bit difficult to do a like more gradual ramp, especially because we do have like a lot of terrain changes at the bottom of this. So I'm happy with how it ends up looking. I think it looks pretty nice. But yeah, we're just copying everything over. And while we do this, let's talk about the sun bear, because like I said, a really special animal, I think. The sun bear is probably the most unique bear there is. It's such a bizarre creature. It's beautiful. It's like this deep black color with the really beautiful like bright golden orange kind of marking on its chest, which looks a bit like a half moon. It's or like like the sun basically, because it is of course the sun bear. And they live in Southeast Asia, primarily around the well, almost most of Southeast Asia. You can find them in my home country of Malaysia and on Borneo as well. And similarly to the clouded leopard, there's two subspecies, one of which lives on the mainland and one lives on the island of Borneo. So the Bornean one is not too different, it's just probably a tiny bit smaller, but not really particularly different. They are more closely related to the black bear species, like the American and Asian black bear, than they are to other species of bear. But again, like when I say they're unique, I mean they're really unique. Like if you've ever seen a video or photo of a sun bear, they look like a person in a bear costume. They because they're so lanky and like they have long limbs, these huge claws and like quite a wide face almost with like wrinkles. It doesn't really look like a fully formed bear, because bears are generally so fluffy and like they kind of hide all of their anatomy. But with the sun bear, it lives in a tropical environment, so it isn't very fluffy at all because it's obviously really hot. So it has quite thin fur, and because of that you can really see its anatomy very clearly, and it's unusual. But of course, all of these adaptations are specific to its environment. It helps it climb, it helps it traverse its terrain. The big claws are really useful for going through bees' nests and honeycombs to get the honey out, or termite mounds. So every weird element of this animal is perfectly adapted for its environment in the tropics. And personally, I really love this animal, and I've told this story so many times on the channel, and I'm sure you long-time viewers will be very bored of me saying it by now, but for those of you new, earlier last year I got the chance to intern with a documentary company, and that was such a great experience in my life. And one thing we did was we went to a wildlife rehabilitation center, and we got the chance to see all these sun bears that were rescued from like poacher traps and stuff like that. Which of course it's such a shame, that is really awful for these bears, but we got to see how they were rehabilitating these animals, and I even got the chance to very briefly go into an enclosure with one, and that was just, it's a memory that sticks with you. And yeah, I know I've told the story so many times, I do apologize, but it really gave me such a unique perspective and something, it's just a really good memory for me, like the fact that I got the chance to see this animal in such an up close kind of way. It was really, really beautiful. And of course I've seen them in zoos plenty of times, especially in Southeast Asia. I think Singapore Zoo has some, if I'm not mistaken. But sun bears are relatively common in zoos like that. You'll be, well, not common, but you'll see them here and there. And they do okay in captivity. They're not, like bears in general don't always do great in captivity, but some of them are pretty okay. The sun bear being, because the sun bear is quite small, it's a bit easier to provide it with a larger space in captivity, so that does help a little bit. These guys are also the smallest of all bears. They are so tiny, and it makes them just look so cute. Taking a break from talking about sun bears for a second, if you looked on screen, I just used the new screens that we get to actually superimpose just some stock textures of like gravel that I got just from like a stock website. If you want a list of stock websites, I'd suggest using Pixabay. They're pretty good, Pexels as well. Those are pretty good websites for getting stock images and stock videos that are copyright free. So do check them out if you want to get textures for your new screens in game. The only issue with that is, of course, because it is a screen, it's still reflective, so you're not getting the same texture as that rock. But I think if you're putting it in the shade where the sun can't quite get to it, I think it works pretty okay. Over here I'm just making a quick staff area, of course, just so the staff can access the habitat and it could also be a place where the bear can essentially go in and chill out for a bit. Now by the end you'll notice I haven't put in a proper shelter for the bears yet. I'll do that between episodes. It's just something that slipped my mind, so I'll have to go back and do that. And I think what it's going to be is just something simple towards the back here where the bear can go in and sleep, kind of like what we did with the snow leopards. But yeah, I'll do that between episodes. Just going back to these sun bears, they do live in very interesting environments in Southeast Asia, of course tropical rainforest, but they have lots of interesting animals that live around their area. Of course, Malayan tigers have been known to hunt them. They live alongside like clouded leopards, which is pretty cool. Even dholes have been seen preying on sun bears before, but that's quite rare. There was even a really unique situation where a sun bear was actually seen to be swallowed by a massive reticulated python in Indonesia, which is Indonesian Borneo, of course. But that was just crazy. The idea that a python swallowed a bear, that's, oh my god. But yeah, because that in Southeast Asia, of course, we do have reticulated pythons as well, which are the longest snake in the world, and they're big, they're chunky animals as well. But yeah, other than that, that's pretty much it for me talking about these bears. I love them. They're such unique creatures, and I've wanted them in the game from the start. I'm not the biggest fan of bears in general. I think they're cool animals, but like I'm not super keen on them in zoos and stuff like that because I think it's difficult to have them in captivity. But sun bear is an exception. I think it really does work in again, take that with a grain of salt. It works for the most part. Here again, by the way, I'm quickly using another texture, which is actually just some beach gravel from Brighton in the UK, I think, but it looks really nice in the pond here. So I suggest doing stuff like that to give your ponds more texture. But yeah, going back to bears, there are some other bears I would love to see in the game. I'd love to see the sloth bear. That's a really another unique bear. Spectacle bear would be cool. But these are kind of the smaller bears, which I think are a little bit more okay in captivity. I think the big bears really do struggle in captivity, especially things like polar bears, grizzly bears. Yeah, those ones really do not do the best. The bears that do better are the smaller ones, and of course the ones which are a bit more chill, like the giant panda, which just doesn't really do much, so besides eat bamboo. So it's absolutely fine to have again, pandas are a little bit tricky as well, because pandas have been used a bit like a political bargaining chip, which is just, that is such an awful thing to do for an animal. Like, it's an animal, you know, why would you? But anyways, I'll end up going on a very long rant about them. But pandas, purely from like a behavioral standpoint and like just husbandry, they do okay in captivity. They need a lot of very specific requirements, but they do okay. Again, I would love to see some of the other bears. Spectacle bears and sloth bears, I think, would be so cool because they're both really unique. And of course, we already have plenty of other bears in the game. In this park, I think I'm going to include the Formosan black bear, but I don't think I'll include the grizzly. I just don't think there's really a need for it. Here I'm using the water pit, which I didn't know the sun bear could use, and just adding in some rocks to make it look a bit more unique. There's a lot of really cool enrichment here for the bears. We have the wind chimes, we have the new like foraging logs where they can go in there and dig out bugs. We have the new scratching trees as well, and I'm moving over some of these wooden platforms from the clouded leopard habitat and repurposing them here so that the sun bear can use them to traverse the habitat as well. I think it ends up looking really cool. Again, gives that kind of vague idea of like stairs, giving them a ramp into the water, because these are bears that can swim pretty decently as well. They might not swim particularly often, but they can if they would like. And I've seen them use it a few times in this habitat, so it's pretty okay. But yeah, that's we're coming up to the end of this episode now. Just want to say I've really enjoyed building this habitat, really enjoyed building the clouded leopard one. For the next habitat, I think we are going to stick to the Southeast Asian pack for now in this park. I don't think I'll bring it over quite yet into my other park, Sannikov Land, because I'm still not fully ready to dive back into that yet. I am planning on doing so, but just not quite yet. What we're going to do next though here in October Lake, I think we have a few options. We could do the binturong, that would be pretty cool. I love binturongs, again, fascinating animals. We also have the option of the dhole, of course, which is the animal I'm least familiar with in the pack, so it could be cool to learn about that together. Other than that, I don't see us using some animals here in this park. I don't see us using the proboscis monkey, just because I've tried to keep it to slightly more temperate or colder weather primates. I think for proboscis monkey, which is so inherently tropical, which, you know, uses warm water to swim in and stuff like that, it'd be a bit trickier than, say, the lemurs. I would have to make it like an indoor habitat, I think. And for the size of it, because they live in such large troops as well, I just don't think that would necessarily work in this habitat. In this zoo. I would be happy putting in the dhole and the binturong, I think. Both of those should work fine. The tapir, I'm not super keen on using it in this zoo. I'll probably bring it back to Sannikov Land. And then, what else was in this pack? The leaf insect I will include in the tropical house, that's for sure. I'll just have to do that between episodes and then put it in the cinematics at some point. And then, is that all the animals? I'm probably missing one or two, which is gonna really annoy me because, like, okay, let's count it. Sun bear, cloud leopard, that's 2. Dhole, tapir, that's 4. Proboscis monkey, that's 5. There's 2 more, right? Oh my god. The binturong, of course, that's 6. What is the 7th? Oh my god, this is gonna bug me. I'm gonna actually look it up right now. East Asian pack. And like oh my god, I bet it's something so simple that I've just completely forgotten, right? Let me see. Was it the clouded leopard? Did I include the clouded leopard? Oh my god. the Babirusa, that's what it was. Yep, it was absolutely the Babirusa that I completely just forgot. But it's a great animal too. I love the Babirusa, so we'll definitely, I think I'll include the Babirusa here actually, because it is a very cool animal and one of my favorites. Probably my favorite pig-like animal in general. So yeah, we'll include them as well. Anyways, we're coming up to the end of this episode. Gonna film some cinematics now. I was gonna film the cinematics yesterday, but then my game did that weird thing where it dropped to like 20 FPS again and started lagging really badly, and I'm not sure what that was. It did happen once I put in the sunbear, so I'm thinking it might be something to do with like the game calculating the traversable area, so it could be that, but I'm not sure. Anyways, that's it for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Do like the video if you did like today's video, of course. Yeah, subscribe for more Planet Zoo content. I release Planet Zoo videos every Wednesday at 5 PM UK time. I do Jurassic World Evolution every Friday at 5 PM UK time. And I do Prehistoric Kingdom every Monday at 5 PM UK time. So feel free to join for any of those. As always, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye.